What's up, Block 22 Nation? It's your boy Gobo with the first ever season finale of Puck University, hashtag Puck U. With me, as always, my good, confident co-host, Tommy Mitchell. Tom, how are you?
I'm doing great. How's everybody doing? Welcome to the finale.
That's right. So we had a crazy hockey season, and it was just the exclamation point was just stamped on it this couple weeks, about a week and a half ago now, with the Las Vegas Golden Knights taking home Lord Stanley's trophy. What do you think about that, Tom?
I kind of saw it coming.
Hey, I'm gonna say, if you go back and watch the previous episodes, you watch my interview with Ming. Yeah, I called it. I was like, there's no way Florida's got a chance in this final.
Yeah, I think we both kind of did. Honestly, it was kind of it was the next thing when we got to the Stanley Cup analysis, but I'll just go ahead and I'll just say it now. Florida just ran out of steam. I mean, they had to play Boston, then they had to play Carolina, and by the time they got to Vegas, it was just they didn't have anything left. On top of that, Kachuk breaking his sternum, I mean, didn't help anything either.
Doesn't usually help when your best player goes down. Absolutely. Yeah. So I think, and watching it, and I just rewatched all the highlights of it, and it's like Florida was never really close. Like they won, they stole the one game in overtime, with a great shot by, I think it was Dubas. Great. It was a great story. The Rats flew. It was their first ever win in one game of a Stanley Cup final. Florida is now 1-8 in finals contention. So, I mean, it was good to see that happen. But if you look at especially every one of the games in Vegas, like it was 4-goal wins, 5-goal wins, and then of course the 9-3 debacle at the end.
Yeah, I mean, they just looked, I mean, we'll get into it in a little bit. They just looked faster. They looked more refreshed. I mean, we talked about early on. I mean, I think their longest series was what, 5 games?
With Vegas? Yeah, I think their series with Dallas might have gone to 6, but I'm not 100% sure. Like they all were pretty quick.
So I mean, they just had so much more rest. Like I said, Florida, they had 7 games against Boston. Then it was like, I think it was 6 against Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just got trampled on.
Yeah, for sure. So, and I think that like
4-2 over Dallas, but other than that, it was quick series for those guys.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that it's like I said, they just move together. If you look at Vegas's roster, they really don't have like a spectacular generational player. Like they just have like 6 or 7 guys that are just really good. Like Carlson's really good, Marchessault's really good, Jack Eichel's really good, Stone, the captain, which kind of like leads me into my next point. First ever player to get a hat trick in a Stanley Cup clinching game.
Yeah, he played phenomenal. I watched that game and he was all over the place. Plus, you have somebody like Marchessault who had I think 29 points in the play.
I was gonna say, yeah, he won the Conn Smythe. Yeah, I mean, an original Golden Knight. I thought that was kind of a cool story. Is that in that game 5? I mean, Vegas had so much swagger on that game 5. They marched out 5 players who weren't a line pairing just because to start the game, just because they were all original Golden Knights. So they had that much confidence that they could put this weird group of guys on the ice and they would still win the game.
And then they won 9-3.
And they won 9-3. Yeah, you could tell. I think that it's like, yeah, because it's like Tkachuk was out. Sergei Bobrovsky is probably, I would say, he's definitively the second best player on the Panthers. And you could tell by that game 5 against Vegas, he was just done. Like he was so like just worn down, beat up. I mean, he got pulled in game 2. I mean, yeah, the guy was just not having a good time, and so it's just like, yeah, when your best players don't, because I think Leon or Lion is their backup, and it's like, yeah, against the Vegas Golden Knights in the Stanley Cup, it's not happening.
Yeah, I'm totally in agreement with you.
So talking about the Stanley Cup, I don't know if you saw this news story, but there was a gentleman's club. We'll keep it PG-13. A gentleman's club in Las Vegas, one of many, all the girls got together and vowed to offer free private dances for life to every member of the team if they bring home the cup. Now they're held to it. So I mean, what? So you play for the? So let's say you play for the Las Vegas Golden Knights. I mean, what's your first move? You got to go to that club, right?
I mean, that's almost words don't even have to say it. Yeah, you're jumping in. You're jumping on the club bus and you're taking everybody there.
I was gonna say, yeah, I remember. And I hate to bring it back to the Avs because I know that we're like highlighting Vegas right now, but yeah, when the Avs won for the first like week after the championship, between the championship and the parade, there was just this like unsaid like, where are the Avalanche gonna show up next? Like, yeah, because they were just partying through the city for a week straight, and so like, yeah, we were like jumping on social media, like watching all their Instagram accounts, like seeing if we could just like crash an Avalanche party. But yeah, in Vegas though, oh my god, I could not even imagine.
You never find them.
You have
And
to.
actually, I just read that because it kind of caught me by surprise that actually happened. It was actually the general manager of that strip club promised it, and it's the first female general manager of a gentleman's club promised it.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, so the general manager. So yeah, so hopefully the gals aren't put off by that request. But I would hate to think that they're all pretty good looking guys on that Vegas team. I don't
And I
know.
think they might have a little bit of money.
I was gonna say, yeah, I think some wealthy young professional athletes are probably not the clientele that gets turned away at an establishment of that nature. So yeah, real fun stuff. I mean, and we'll keep the Vegas train rolling. So it's like, so we're talking about Mark Stone gets the hat trick. March Assault wins the Conn Smythe. So like, what's next for Vegas? Do you think they keep the core together?
So that actually is funny that you asked that because I just looked and the top 20 free agents, I saw at least 5 Vegas Knights possibly headed towards free agency. And I think Barbashev was one of them.
Ooh, that would be a bad one to lose. Yeah.
Yeah, while we're on it, I'm just going to get back to that and see if I can find that real quick.
Yeah. So and I think that I know we're going to get into a little bit later in the show a section discussing our predictions for next year. Looking at the Vegas predictions, the Vegas books are only putting the Golden Knights as like the 5th most likely team to repeat to win the cup next year.
Yeah, that is surprising because it is yep, Barbashev, Kessel.
Oh my god, Phil Kessel still plays for that team?
Yeah, he does.
Oh my god, he's got to be like 80 years old.
And those are the 2 off the top. I thought there was more than that. There's quite a few Bruins that are leaving too, but we won't talk about them right now. We're on Vegas.
I was gonna say, yeah. So
I mean, Kessel had 36 points, 14 goals, 22 assists
Yeah, it's
this year.
not a terrible season.
And then he had 2 assists in 4 playoff games. So, I mean, he didn't have a terrible season for being 35 years old.
Yeah. So I think yeah, I mean, there's some potential there. So I don't know. I don't really see them if they lose Kessel. I don't think that makes them inherent like too much incredibly worse. I think
No,
that
Barbashev was the big one that I was more leaning.
I was like, yeah, Barbashev, and we'll see. We'll see what happens if I mean, because he's gonna get paid no matter where he goes. But it's just like, does he want to stay and contend for a cup again? So yeah, we'll see how that goes. Yeah, I know the Eichel contract is still pretty solid. Which I like Jack Eichel. I think that he was just playing for a terrible team for the whole majority of his career. It's like the best player on the Buffalo Sabres is not necessarily going to be the best player on the Golden Knights. But that's the thing, you don't have to be. You just have to be good, you just have to show up and be consistent. But yeah, just like I said, watching that series, it was like Vegas. It seemed like they were a bunch of grown men like playing against like a high school team. It looked like a Mighty Ducks movie. They just outclassed them on every area of the ice.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think a lot of it was obviously Kachuk going down really killed him in game 4. He played that game, which I was going to get into that here in a little bit. Team had to basically put his pads and gear on for him. I don't know if you read that or heard that.
Oh no.
Yeah, they had a press conference. I can't believe that the coach said it in a press conference that game 4 when he played, he couldn't even put his own pads on. The team had to put his pads on for him, and they had to put the sweater on for him as well.
Ooh.
And tie his skates. And he said that live. So I'm kind of interested to see what is going to happen this offseason with repercussions from that, because obviously that's a big health concern, especially with it being your sternum. It's pretty bad.
I mean, it's tough, man. How do you tell these guys they can't go out and play in the Stanley Cup? It's like, so
well, he did play game 5, so
I know they did finally take him out. So I mean, they did the right thing because I mean, it's not worth your life or anything, but yeah, that's tough. Because I think if I was in that situation, which I mean I'll never be, but if I was ever in that situation, I don't care what was wrong with me, I'd get on the ice.
Oh yeah, no kidding.
Make it worse, yeah, whatever.
It comes to the point with trainers or somebody, if he can't put on his own skates and pads, it's probably time to be evaluating.
At that point, it's like, how effective are you for your team at that point as well?
Right.
It's like, yeah, if you're not playing your best hockey, there's probably another guy that's going to fill in that's maybe not as good as you, but it's going to be better than you in that moment.
Right. Agreed.
So speaking of free agency, crazy thing happened right after the season ended. The Vancouver Canucks buy out Oliver Ekman-Larsson. I mean, this huge trade that they made. One of their premier players, they're one of their top line forwards. Multiple time All-Star. Been a part of playoff winning teams before. What the hell? What does Vancouver know that we don't?
I don't know, but I can tell you right now, there's going to be several teams that are going to be jumping all over this guy in the offseason.
And that's what I'm wondering about. Is just like, I'm guessing that there was some. I'm going to predict that it probably was some chemistry issues because I mean, yeah, his performance was shit, but it still was, they're Vancouver, so I mean, you got no supporting cast around him. Right. So it's like there has to be some chemistry issues. In which case, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, he reminds me a lot of a Jack Eichel. Where it's like, best player on a shitty team. And it's like if you can add him onto an already stout roster, what can he do? Can he be that solid number 2 and number 3 guy?
I mean, the only thing I can think of is he's 31. He's not young. He's not old. They know that they need a rebuild. They need a young team. He's a big salary cap. They're paying him $20 million over the next 8 years to lower that salary cap. I mean, that's the only other scenario that I could possibly think is they're trying to get a younger, cheaper team.
I mean, yeah, they could try to clear cap space all they want, but at the end of the day, it's just like you have to win. The goal of your franchise is to win games. So it's like you're gonna shed a player like that. I mean, there's just I can't think of one roster in the NHL that doesn't get better with Oliver Ekman-Larsson on it.
No, I agree with that, but like I said, that's the only. I'm not saying that's the right decision. I'm just saying that's the only other thing I can think of that why they would want to offload him like that.
Yeah. So Vancouver's done with him. That much we know. The rest of it is all kind of up in the air. So Oliver Ekman-Larsson, it seems like there's probably two ways that this could possibly go. Is that he's either going to go, be a number one on some, mediocre team, some mid-level team, probably get a huge paycheck, or is he's 31 and it's just like, is he on the tail end of his career and is he going to go for a cup? So I mean, who does he sign with next year? I mean, is it going to be a playoff team, a contender?
I would imagine he wants one. I mean, if I was 31 years old, I'd be thinking about it. I mean, most of these defensive men, once they start getting in their, I wouldn't say older because he's not old yet, but peak of their career, they start slowing down. He might have. I mean, geez, what's Larson, the other Larson for the San Jose, 35 or 36?
Yeah, but
I mean, you're starting to see the downhill slide. I mean, so he's got 4 or 5 solid years. He wants a cup in those 4 or 5 years. So this is probably his last contract, honestly.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, that's probably not a bad assessment. And so I think suitors, look at Boston, especially if they're gonna have some cap space because they're probably losing a couple of contracts. Look at Toronto because Toronto buys everything. Toronto is always a buyer when big players come on.
Rangers pop out at me.
I was just thinking the Rangers too, but I wonder, did they overspend with Kane?
That'd be the only hiccup there is do they have enough cap
It's
space?
just like I think the Rangers have to lose somebody to clear up the space for him.
Well, and here's the thing. I mean, Vancouver's paying him $20 million for the next 8 years. Does he take a pay cut to go there?
I mean, 20. I mean, it's unfathomable for us to think about. It's just like, yeah, $20 million to do nothing, and then you can continue to play professional hockey for a different team, and then get paid from that team as well. I mean, it sounds like a dream, but yeah,
Right.
honestly, like I don't know where Ekman-Larsson's head is at. He might want to get paid. He might want to take a big bloated contract with like Montreal or the Red Wings or one of those teams. But honestly, like, yeah, I think that logically I would like to see him go to a contender, send him to Vegas, send him to LA, send him to
Wouldn't surprise me Seattle took a stab at him too.
yeah, I mean Seattle right down the road, a Vancouver rival. How interesting would that be to have have a guy in your division right down the road, 4 hours down the road, that you're paying half of his contract and he's out on the ice beating you. I mean, that's an interesting concept right there. So I don't know. I hope the Avs take a stab at him, honestly. I don't think we have the cap space. I think that in order to do that, we'd have to lose a couple of key members of the team that I don't know if are really worth losing. But I mean, like I said, no roster gets worse with him on it.
I agree.
So anyway, so another thing, I didn't put this on the rundown sheet, but now I'm like thinking about it. How does Chicago look next year?
Yeah, that's a. I mean, they got the number 1 overall pick, didn't they? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
I mean,
they got
better
that
theirs. I mean,
so they haven't released Taves yet. They could be primed to be a surprising team. I don't think they make the playoffs because they're in the Central Division, and I think there's a lot of really good teams. But it's just like thinking about it, it's just like, man, I wonder if like an addition of a like an Ekman Larson to like Chicago. Chicago's got a million tons of cap space right now, so it's just like just bringing on a player like Ekman Larson makes Chicago into a contender again.
I was just thinking about that. I mean, if they get rid of Taves, they lower their cap, pick him up. They got the number 1 overall pick, and he's a forward. So I mean, there's their replacement forward, franchise player most likely, from the looks of him. And then now you have a defender to help out.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't see it happening. I think that the Blackhawks management is really not where it needs to be, so I don't really see it being a thing this next year. I think that Ekman Larson probably goes somewhere else, but I was just thinking about that. It's like, ooh, that'd be interesting, and if you have like thinking about like your video game Madden type world, it's just like, man, you could create kind of an interesting team with him.
We take him. We take him at the in Pittsburgh.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Forwards. We got young forwards, and I mean defenders. The only one I can really think of that sticks out to me is Letang. It'd be nice to have another powerful
because Letang's on a good contract right now, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's still got at least a few more years on his contract.
Okay. So yeah,
what's going on in Pittsburgh? It sounds like a lot of the young guys, forwards, they want to remain. So it's just going to see what the front office looks like at the beginning of next season.
Yeah. Yeah, new GM, maybe somebody's looking to make a splash. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. So on that note, thinking about next season, we're wrapping up Puck University. Our season's coming to a close, but the NHL season's also has now come to a close. So it's what do we have to look forward to next year? What do you think the league is going to look like?
I think Boston's going to be up there again. I think Colorado's going to be up. Is Landeskog going to be out this season again?
Allegedly, he's going to be out the whole rest of the next season as well. So we'll see. We need a second line forward for to make another serious run. But yeah,
still see them being top 10 team. It's Rangers I see coming back and being up there. I think they had troubles because they tried to throw a team together late in the season. I mean, like you said, they tried to buy everybody and hope to God they had a team. If they get those people working together that they got, I think they would be a dangerous team.
Yeah.
Seattle will be back. Carolina, I mean, I think that they, like we discussed with Vegas, I think Vegas is going to be up in the top 10. I think Carolina is going to be up in the top 10 again. They just have so many. They don't have a franchise player, but they have so many that are equal skill level that they can flip people in and out. I honestly think if Carolina would have been able to beat Florida, that would have been a more evenly matched final, in my opinion.
Or Boston.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and honestly, I think kind of going back to the finals. I mean, this was not a particularly fun finals to watch. I think it reminded me a lot of the Penguins and Sharks. Like it was just like it just wasn't close in any situation. So it just wasn't really fun to watch. But yeah, I think that there could have been a lot better matchups. So I mean I got some hot takes. I think Florida does not return to the finals. Definitely. I think they're still a playoff team, but I think that this was their, they'll have like a Cinderella run every, decade and a half, and that'll kind of be it. So I think this was Florida's opportunity. I think they missed it. So I agree. Vegas is going to return to prominence. They're keeping their core together, and they got a damn good team. They got really good coaching. Seattle, I like Seattle, man. It's like I said, they're a gritty team. I think they have a lot of youth. I think they're still developing. I think they're probably 5-6 years away from being a real cup contender, but I think that they're still a playoff team, especially in the Pacific. I think the Kings are looking better. I think that they're developing. They could be a scary team. And then as far as the Avalanche, yeah, I mean, it really is going to depend on what happens at that captain position. Vegas named us the odds-on favorites to win the cup again. Which I don't know if they're just riding the Nuggets train. They wanted to put all Colorado on the top of all their lists, but because they picked the Nuggets to win the championship next year as well. But I think are the Avalanche good enough to win the cup next year? With the team they have right now, no. They need Val Nichushkin. They need a replacement for Burakovsky. We need a solid goaltender, and we need a Landeskog, or a player that's at least as good as Landeskog, which is hard to find. So I think that I honestly look at the Avs looking at Jonathan Taves. We need a captain. He's a captain. He's been a captain for 20 years. So it's like why not look at a guy like that? In the East, yeah, I agree. Carolina and the Rangers, I think, are probably the better teams in that division. Next to Boston, I think even if they lose a couple of those contracts, they're a scary good team. They won't be as good as they were this year, but I still think that they're a contender for the cup.
I was going to tell you, next season, two of the players that are most likely going to go on free agency, you guys would be really interested in. Vladimir Tarasenko is projected to go on free agency, and so is Ryan Riley.
That's right. That's actually that's a lot of the buzz in the local news here, is that the Avs are going to sign Ryan O'Reilly, which I would be so happy. Like when he was in with the Avs before he went to St. Louis, like yeah, he was a stud, man. Like he was a super consistent player, plays great with McKinnon. Plays great with Eric Johnson. He knows the system. I think Ryan O'Reilly is a great replacement for a captain if Landeskog's not able to hang in there. And then Tarasenko, I mean, super talented player. I think I would be a little bit more suspect, but I think that he's also maybe more talented than O'Reilly on the ice. So you never know. You never know. If you just stack enough talent on the ice, sometimes that's good enough.
I think he's older too, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's like, oh, no. O'Reilly's pretty old. Because I remember he played here when McKinnon was a rookie. So that would have been like 2012, 2013. So yeah, he's been in the league for a long time.
I have it right here. I'm going to look.
I was going to say, you have access to the internet. They'll let us know.
32 to 31. Ryan O'Reilly's a year older than Tarasenko.
So it was close, but I was still right. Yeah, so I'd be very happy with Tarasenko too. It's funny. I went to and saw the Avs play the Blues the week after they traded O'Reilly and Tarasenko. And yeah, they were just so downtrodden. Like, oh my god, that poor team. Yeah, the Blues I think are in for a tough sledding this next year, just because they got rid of all their big guys and they didn't really replace them, and they still haven't. So I'm kind of wondering what exactly their plan is, but I'm hoping they have otherwise they're going to end up like the Penguins and firing everybody.
Yeah, and I'm just looking through the free agency list. There's not really anybody for them to pick up, honestly.
So but I promise you guys some hot takes. So here's some hot takes. 3 playoff teams this year that will miss the playoffs next year. Number 1 is the Minnesota Wild. And I'm sorry that our other friend James couldn't join us today to kind of defend his team. But yeah, Minnesota, they're in cap hell. Kaprizov is going to get no support. I think that he probably wins the cup wearing a different uniform. I think Minnesota misses the playoffs entirely.
James is a Devils fan.
Devils fan, sorry, yeah.
But that's okay. We had somebody else that was a Minnesota Wild fan.
That's right. We did have, yeah, we had one guest that was a Wild fan. All right, second one, a team used to be in Minnesota that nobody likes anymore, Dallas Stars. So I'm taking a look at Robertson, tanks next year, Otter tanks next year. That's my hot take. They're gonna miss the playoffs. They're gonna be a contender, but I think they get brushed out by a team like Seattle, maybe Chicago, maybe one of these other teams. Depending on how LA looks. I think that there's just a lot of competition in the West. Not even factoring in those Canadian teams. I think Dallas misses, honestly.
And I will pick the last one.
You want to pick one? All right, I got one more, but I want to hear what you have to say.
Florida is not going to make it. I mean, they
Florida,
barely
ah,
they barely made it. They barely made it this year. I mean, a lot of things had to happen to get them into the playoffs, which one of them was my Penguins losing the last two games of the season, and they did. So I mean, they're barely snuck in. I mean, I'm glad they did because they did well. Obviously, minus the finals. So I mean, it was fun to watch them on the streak that they went on, but I don't foresee them repeating it next year.
yeah. Well, my third pick, um, and it's going to be to the detriment of almost the entire league front office, but the Toronto Maple Leafs. Yeah, I think that they picked up all these players, they picked up all this talent that's washed up. I mean, everyone knows John Tavares is ready to retire, and they're in like Minnesota, they're in salary cap hell. They did it a lot smarter, but I think that would just be the ultimate failure of a franchise if Toronto misses the playoffs next year.
Kind of on the fence with that one. I mean, I don't see them losing a lot of people, minus him. And I mean, I don't know. Yeah, we'll just have to see how that goes.
Yeah, I like the East, man. I think that there's a lot of fun teams there. Like the Devils, I think are a super fun team. I think that they go back to the playoffs again. Rangers are obviously very good. I think the Islanders have some potential. They have some prospects coming up that I think could really start to push them in the right direction. I mean, yeah, Florida, I still think is a playoff team. I think that a lot of the traditionally good Eastern teams like Washington and the Penguins are really starting to really slip, and so it's going to open up some opportunities. But yeah, I just think Toronto they fall down that hole. I think that they kept it together this year, but I think that they're gonna start to fade into obscurity again. But we'll see. They're in a
We'll agree
division
to
with
disagree.
Ottawa and Detroit, so you never know. Anyways, all right. Well, what else do you think about next season? Any other hot takes? Any teams that you think are in or out? Who's going to be the surprise good team next year?
Surprise good team. I think one that's gonna jump out on us. Um I've kind of started watching them, so is my middle son. I think the Sharks are gonna make some moves.
Okay, interesting take. Interesting take. So the Sharks, I think, are pretty much they're outclassed in almost every position except for Tomas Hurdle. So, but I think that yeah, I mean that's an interesting take though. So are you thinking just because they have so much cap space, they're going to make some moves in free agency?
I think so. And I mean their front office isn't terrible considering what we've seen. I mean, from some other front offices. Dude, you're in the thing. Sorry, kids in the background.
You're good.
Uh, some from what some other front offices are. I mean, they still have Larson defensive. I mean, he's the captain, I believe. I mean, they got some leadership. They just need to get some other pieces of the puzzle in place. And with the cap space, I think they'll do it.
All right. So we'll see. So if you want to find out if we were right or wrong, make sure you watch NHL hockey this next upcoming season, and then come back here and gloat or agree with us in the comments back here on Puck University. So I want to say thank you to everybody who watched this season. I think that our show is of course nothing without our fans or lamentors or agitators or however the opposite of fans end up being. But we do appreciate your viewership, and we hope that you join us next season on Puck U and evaluate our terrible decisions we made here today.
Yes, I'm excited. I can't wait to kick your butt in some picks next season.
I was gonna say, and I have to reclaim. I mean, I can't. I guess initially claim. Yeah, our first ever season one Puck University picks champion, Tom Mitchell. And I gotta knock him off his throne. And if you want to, join, if you want to be a guest on Puck University, if you would like, to share your hockey opinions with us, please reach out to ourselves or our producer James Marvs. Make sure you're watching the rest of the Lock 22 channel. You can catch myself, as well as some other very handsome gentlemen on NF Hell this upcoming fall, where I will talk about my Packers and why they're going to come in last place in their division. And yeah, we can talk football. Or if you're a wrestling fan, make sure you check out Two Marks and a Spark with Ben Shrewsbury, as well as our new interview show, the Shrewsbury Report, which you might catch my very handsome face on as well. And then I think our only other show that's still running right now, Uncle Russ's Comic Talk. So you want to learn about some comics and maybe pick up a few, you want to share your comic knowledge, make sure you check that out. So lots of stuff going on at Lock 22 Productions. But like I said, I'm Gobo. This is our season one finale, and I think we're ready to sign off. Tommy, what do you think?
Yeah, again, like Gobo said, thanks everybody for watching our inaugural season of Puck University. It was a great time, and can't wait for next season.
That's right. So keep your skates laced, your sticks crossed, and go spit some chiclets, other hockey jargon. But thanks for watching, everybody. This has been season one. I'm Gobo for Tom Mitchell. Thank you so much, everybody, and we will see you next season.